Join computer audio, and here we go. So, the plan is we're going to knock out a couple more of these pieces. I want to make sure that like the splits where we're doing one day versus another day works out to be even. If I recall, we did wheel and smokestack last time, and so that leaves us with train body and cow catcher. That's me. And let's go full screen, and we're finally stay co-host. Full screen. 10 minutes later. Okay, so this is a lot. I think we're just going to do train body today. I think it's going to take as long as one. Well, we'll see how fast it goes. Okay, but either way, doing train body today. And train body is complex in that it has a ton of part features, and you can tell it's complex by the dimensions, the dimensioning. Okay, every one of those numbers and lines means something and is needed. And it's actually on two drawings, one for the front and side and one for the back, which is actually you'll see what how this works shortly. Well, you see how everything works shortly. Regardless, give me a second here. Let me make sure this pops up correctly. I don't want it to pop up on the recording. For privacy, just a second. Come on, pop up. And we're good. Okay. And we're back. Okay, so we need to sort of break this into chunks, which is really the skill that you are developing, or I'm developing in you, is the idea of looking at a shape and trying to break it up into smaller geometric sort of chunks. Okay, so the way we're going to build this one is first we're going to build this sort of brick on the bottom that is flat and wide. And then once we have that, we're going to make this shape right here, which actually is a circle that digs a little into that brick, and extrude it back. So then we'll have a like this shape extruded back the full depth. And then we're going to add this sort of cabin part, which is actually an arc across the top, extruded. We're going to draw this shape on the back and extrude it forward, and that will be our main chunk. And then we just need to cut parts out. We need to cut out this sort of, I don't even know what you'd call that, window. We need to cut out the hole for the smokestack. We need to cut out the hole for the axle pegs and cut out the hole for the hitch peg. Oh, and cut out the hole for the cow catcher, the holes. Okay, so there are a lot of part features, but it's exactly what I just said. It's not any more than that. So also, by the way, if you are not caught up with the other things we've done, do those first. you have a question over there? Oh, never mind. Okay, I was muted. Either way, this arc right here says radius 0.75, which is good. That's the number. But we are going to draw a circle because a circle is always going to be a closed loop. It will always be center point. It just has a lot of good constraints that'll solve issues. But that means we need a circle that's 1.5 because we dimension by the diameter. So we have our size, we need location. So where is this center point that we're going to draw our 1.5 circle? And the center point looks like, if we go all the way down, it's 1 from the left. The entire thing is 2 from the left. That is also known as the center line. And this mark right here, how far off of the ground it is, well, we follow these extension lines out, and it is this tallest one, 1.375. So we need to find a dot that's 1.375 off the ground, centered left to right, and then make a circle there that's 1.5. Okay, so centered 1.375. Okay, start a sketch on the front. We could do like a work point. I'd say that's probably the professional way to do it. But something simple like this, we can just start with a circle. We know the center point of the circle is 1.375 off of the ground, and the height right now is 0.875. So our 1.375 needs to start above this top edge somewhere. And you can get a soft snap to center, which is fine. Just make a circle of any size that doesn't snap to anything because that'll constrain it. Just however big, it's probably about that big, but there's fine also. And let's dimension it. We know we want it to be 1.5 in diameter. And right-click done with the dimension tool. And it's full. It still says two dimensions needed is because we did a soft snap. It's not located left to right. It's also not located up and down. Okay, so let's locate it left to right. And the distance is between the center point and this side. If you get this side, it will always be a horizontal dimension. If you go from center point to this top corner, it will be a horizontal if you leave it there. If you go over here, it's a vertical dimension. And if you click again, it will be a like absolute dimension, which is fine if that's what you want. But if you click on the center point of the circle and then the side, it will always be the horizontal dimension if that's what you want. And 1 is fine. What's up? 1.5 diameter. Sorry. Okay, so the 1.5-inch circle is an inch left to right, meaning centered. And so we just need its height, and its height is the distance between its center point and the base of everything. And its height was 1.375. And we finish sketch. And extrude. Choose everything. Technically, you don't need to choose this other bit. Doesn't really matter. We're going to switch directions. Okay, flipped. But make sure it doesn't switch to cut because we don't want to cut. If we switch to flip, it switches to cut because some of it's going in. You need to make sure it's on joint. Now, if you don't select that little bit that bites in and you switch direction, it's not going to switch to cut because it's not cutting anything. Just make sure, first of all, the key is make sure that when you're doing any sort of part feature, you need to look at it from a 3D view, because if you're just looking at it here, you can't really tell if it's cutting or creating. You can't really tell which direction it's going. So look at it from a corner, make sure it goes back over the part, and make sure it didn't automatically switch to cut, because that's not what we want. Okay, so we don't cut, we want up, and we want in the correct direction, hit OK. Okay, there you go. That's stage 2. Stage 3, we want to make this back part. But the dimensions for this back part, or the instructions, the recipe, whatever, is on the back. Okay, so we want to make this roof, and the dimension we get for this roof is a radius. And if you follow this extension line, it is pointing to this center point. The center point of the circle is also the center point for this radius dimension. And that means this roof is a center point arc centered on the center point, same center point as this hole, with a radius of 2.35, and then connects up. But because this center point arc uses the same center point as the hitch hole, we're actually going to make the hitch hole first, and then we'll use the auto projected center point from that to make this arc, and it will save us half a step. So that's awesome. Okay, so actually the next thing we're going to make is the hole for the hitch peg. And like anything, you need size and location. It's 1.5 diameter, and which is 1 inch. Okay, so we're making this circle. The size of the circle is 0.25 diameter. And this has to do with how deep the cut is. Its depth is 0.5, but that's the last step. So we have a 1/4 inch circle that is 1 inch from the side, otherwise known as centered. And it's 0.375 off of the ground. So let's go ahead and do that, a lot like the last portion. And at this point, there isn't really a front and back. Obviously, there's sides and tops and bottoms, but the front and back are identical. But there's no reason not to switch it around to the side that says back, because we're working on the back, and then it will say back, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we're looking at the back, and let's start a sketch there. Start a 2D sketch, click on the back. Now we're looking at it, and like I said before, we need a circle that's down here-ish, and its diameter 0.25. Then, so that's our size of the circle. We just need our 2 dimensions of location. And the 2 dimensions that we need are left to right. It needs to be centered left to right. It needs to be 0.375 off of the ground. So let's get a dimension, and it's the distance from the center point of the circle to the side of everything. It needs to be exactly 1. You might get, if you did a soft snap, it will already be filled with 1, you know, a very accurate 1. Yeah, that's like out to a millionth of an inch. And so we have our width dimension, our left to right dimension. The only other dimension we need is the distance from the center point to the base, and that needs to be 0.375. Okay, and then we can finish sketch, extrude. Thank you. Okay, so extrude, choose the circle, but we don't want it to extrude 5.5. We want to switch it to cut, and the depth of the cut is 0.5. So instead of 5.5, we're just going to type 0.5. All right, and so now we have the hitch hole. And when we go to make the shape of the roof here, which we'll need to sketch, we'll do a sketch on the same side. You'll notice that we get the auto project for the center point, or we should. I don't know why the shadows got really weird on that, but we get a center point there, and that's what we're going to use to snap. And so in order to make, this is the shape we want to make. It's vertical on the sides, directly vertical from the brick that we started with. And the roof is an arc that connects those verticals. What's up? All right, so like I said, the walls are just vertical lines that connect the part we already have. and they connect to an arc here that has a center point. Okay, so we're going to use a center. We're just going to make a center point arc that has a radius of 2.35, and we're actually going to make it wider than we need to be. And then once we have that arc, we can just extend up these edges and close out this shape and extrude it forward. And the distance, well, let's just remember 2.35. Okay, so I put a sketch on the back. We're sketching back here. And I need an arc, but I don't need a 3-point arc. I need a center point arc. And the first click on a center point arc is the center of the arc, which should be right there in the center of the hole. Then it's sort of like a windshield wiper. You need to put it out here above everything and to the left of everything. First click, or excuse me, technically second click. And then you finish over past everything to the right so that we can draw our lines up here to get the wall. Let's dimension this first. We'll get the dimension tool, click on the arc, set it 2.35. Okay, and it says 2 dimensions needed. What are the 2 dimensions that you would need? Oh, I guess the extents. That's fine. And then to close in, we just need a line tool with a click in the top corner of our initial brick. Make sure it snaps to exactly vertical, and make sure it snaps to the arc we just made, because we're trying to close this in. Same thing over here. First click and second click. And then it's closed in. We can finish sketch and we can extrude it. And the distance we want to extrude it is up here. Okay. Just a second. So the distance we want to extrude it is this distance from the back. If you follow this edge straight down, it takes you to this extension line and these dimension arrows. And so it's 1.75 is the distance for the extrusion. What was your question? The dimension of the arc is the center point of the arc, like the center of the hole is the first click. And then over there to the left, everything, that's fine. Click. And then over to the, oh, you have a 3-point arc. That's why. Okay, so go up to where it hit escape. Yeah, that's fine. And click on escape or hit escape, either way. Underneath arc, there's the drop down underneath arc. Yeah, go to center point arc. There you go. First click is on the center of everything. Second click is way to the left of everything. Yeah. And then third click is to the right of everything. Good. And then dimension that to 2.35. Okay, so we've got our closed in shape. Let's extrude this. And it's already going the correct direction, which is nice, but the distance, as we said, was 1.75. Okay, so there is our main block. We just need to cut a few things out. We've already cut out the hitch hole. The things that are remaining, we've got this window thing. We've got some axle holes, which at least are the same on both sides. We've got holes for the hitch peg and hole. Well, we've got a lot. Okay, so the next thing we're going to make is this window thing. And we've got a radius dimension, which means this is an arc and has a radius of 0.5. Once again, we are going to do a circle because a circle is always going to be enclosed and make a nice closed loop for extruding. But this isn't a circle. This circle, I mean, this isn't a, like just a semicircle hole. There's these little flat parts here that are a 1/4 inch from the back because that's where the center point of this arc is. So the shape of this arc is a semicircle with these flat parts here. Okay, and the way we're going to make that shape is with a full closed in circle, but then we're going to make some rectangles and cut extrude everything all the way across. Okay, so first we need to find the center point. The center point is 1.75 off the ground, a 1/4 inch from the back, and 1/2 inch radius, so 1 inch circle. Yeah. Okay, 1.75, 0.25, 1 inch circle, 1 inch diameter. So just because it's the way it is shown, I'm going to put it on the right side. This one truly doesn't matter, like as little as a choice can matter. But I'll do it on the right. Well, the side that says right, even though that's weird that it's funny. I never realized this. If this is the front, which it clearly is the front of a train, is this the right side? Weird. Perspective. It's crazy. Okay, so we'll sketch here. We'll do a sketch on the right side. And as last time, I'm just going to make the circle to start in roughly the correct location without making any unintentional snaps. Again, I don't want this circle to be snapped to the back edge because we have a little bit of straight part. I'm going to start my circle somewhere in this space and make sure my second click doesn't snap to anything. Dimension it. No, I'm not. That's the way I'm going to get that flat part there. So it's a little bit off the back, and the diameter is just 1. Okay, and I'm done with the circle tool. And so now I have the right size circle. I'm going to need to make some rectangles once it's in the right place, but I need to locate the circle. In the circle, the distance from the center point to the ground was 1.75, and the distance from the center point to the back was 0.25. Okay, and like I said, if we extruded this right here, which is not the point, it would leave those little tails. Obviously, I didn't cut it all the way through, but it would leave these little tails that I don't want. 1.75 off the ground, 0.25 off the back, and diameter of 1, which is all I have so far. Okay, so in order to make these cuts, you could, I'm still in the sketch, you could do lines and stuff, but lines don't always connect for the sake of extruding. Rectangles and circles are always closed loops. So I'm going to get a rectangle, snap it to the center point of the circle. It doesn't matter how far back it goes that way. In fact, it doesn't really matter if you snap it to the edge. I'm just going to go back to show the point. And I want it to be the height of the circle. So from my first click, which is the center point of the circle, second click needs to be the height of the circle. It doesn't matter how far left to right. So there's one part, and then I'm going to do this again over here. First click, second click, doesn't matter how far back, as long as it's the height of the circle, and you will get a soft snap there. And when I right click done with the rectangle tool, it's going to say like 70 dimensions needed. And that's because we need height and width for both circles, 4 dimensions, but it doesn't matter now because our soft snaps are good. We're not going to change this. We'll let that one slide. And let's extrude and extrude everything we just made. Circles and rectangles. And just to be sure, and I think I missed something, otherwise that would look better. No, those are just dimension lines. Okay, and so we are extruding that, but we want to switch it to cut, and we want to choose through all. And hit OK. And hit OK. Okay. And I messed something up. I didn't choose the actual part that mattered. Okay, circle, other parts, everything out, including that. I'll look at it straight on just to make sure. This part, oh, well, that's because it's these little bits right here are the only part I actually care about. And there we go. That looks right. And we switch it to cut and through all and hit OK. Whose was that? Oh, was that one? Okay. Um, uh, Okay, so Excuse me. Yeah. Take this one. Can you put it in my hand when you come back? Excuse me. Okay. So that's not what I want. I want that. Let's do the axle pegs next. Okay, so we've got a couple of circles here. And if you follow the dimension arrow, or whatever it's called in this case, you can see that it's pointing to 1/4 20 UNC. If you recall from before, that is the dimension that they have on the axle peg itself. And that's because it's designed to be a realistic thing where you're using the correct bolts, like the actual IRL bolts, that would match and actually screw in. So we're actually going to put a thread feature on the inside, even though it will be invisible later. Either way, these circles are 1/4 inch diameter. 20 UNC again is the thread. And the depth is 0.875. That's how far we're going to cut extrude. Excuse me. And by 4 means there are 4 of them. It doesn't say TYP anywhere, but that's you can infer it that way. Okay, and both these circles are 0.5 off the ground, and you can tell that because these center extension lines travel through both and get to 0.5. And this center point is 1 inch from the back. And this center point is 4.5 from the back, which is the same thing as saying 1 from the front. I'm going to make my dimension lines look like this, just so it's a little more clear. I'm going to dimension this one as 4.5 from the back, but they're both 0.5 tall. And okay, let's go ahead and sketch on the side. Either side doesn't matter at this point. I'm going to go ahead and make my circles that are roughly in the correct location, but not snap to anything. So I've got 2 circles. For those of you having some frustrations with like moving things around, I'm using a lot of keyboard and mouse shortcuts that really make this a lot easier. Like being fast and efficient makes it easier. And if you're not sure, the mouse wheel on your mouse, you're probably doing scroll in and scroll out, hopefully. But if you press it in like a button, you get the grip hand, which is probably the best tool. And if you hold down Shift and press the mouse wheel, you get free orbits. All those things are available over here in the same manner, but being fast is nice. Okay, so I've made a couple circles roughly in the correct location, and I want to dimension their size, 0.25 each. This one's way off, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to dimension the center point of this one. The distance to the bottom for both is 0.5. And the distance from this one to the back is 1 inch. They're both 1/4 inch diameter. And the distance from this center point to the back is 5.5. No, wait, 4.5. Okay, and you can see it's fully constrained, which is what we want. Let's go ahead and finish sketch. 0.5. Let's finish sketch and extrude and choose just our circles. Take a second with your cursor so you're not like accidentally grabbing the wrong thing. Like that. And switch it to cut. And our cut depth is 0.875. The dimensions, the location of this one circle is 1 inch from the back, and the other one is 4.5 from the back. Okay, so I'm cut extruding 0.875 in. And I've got my right side or left side holes. And we need to do the same thing on the other side. We could do a thing where you are mirroring. And mirror does, you choose the feature, which would be extrusion 6 or clicking on them. But we don't have a mirror plane that goes right through the middle. Okay. If we had a center plane, we could do that, and that would save us some time. The other way we're going to save time is by using project geometry, which we did one time before, actually with part number 7 from the green sheet. And we're going to use it here. We're going to do a sketch on this side, but instead of doing the circles, I'm going to come back to this side, use project geometry, click on this face, and those circles will be projected directly across. So we'll start a sketch, sketching on this left side face. And I'm going to look at it from the right side, 0.875. Okay, so I put a sketch on the side called left, and I'm looking at it from the right. I'm going to get project geometry. It's not project geometry. It is project geometry, even if they are homographs. And we're going to project this face, which is also these circles. If we click on this face and we go back to the other side, they will be there because it's sort of like shot through and projected onto this side. And they're in the correct location because we know the two faces are parallel. And so a finished sketch, and we can just go to extrude, choose just the circle, choose just the other circle, switch it to cut, and it's already on 0.875 from the last extrusion. And there we go. Okay, so there's our side, but I want to throw a thread in there just for fun. So you're going to click on thread. Does it have like the actual, I'm not worried about it being a 20 UNC thread count or whatever, thread pitch. Thread count is for sheets. Thread pitch. But either way, all I've done at this point is click on thread, and I'm going to click on the inside of this hole and the inside. Why is it not giving me another one? Thread and inside and that's weird. Shouldn't have to do it for all of them, but I will. So thread tool, and then click on the inside of the cylinder. It's really weird that I can't. I should be able to go pop, 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 and click all of them. And thread, and choose the inside, and hit OK. Okay, so we have some threads on the inside that do something, but will be invisible immediately after we finish this, which is fine. Okay, so the two more things. We have some holes in the front for the cow catcher that we haven't made yet. And we have a hole in the top for the smokestack. The problem with the one for a smokestack is the circle that we need to draw would hypothetically be on this curved surface. And in order to draw a circle, you need a flat surface to sketch on. So we're going to make a new work plane when somebody comes back. Nobody's back. I have 2 passes. When somebody comes back, that's it. You can go. We need a surface to work on, and we're going to make a work plane. The key is that this work plane needs to be the exact height. Oh, if I didn't say yet, this is the one we're doing next. the work plane needs to be the exact height as the top of this, because that's where we're going to make the circle and where our cut extrude needs to be. So in order to do that sketch, we're going to make a work plane, which isn't a physical thing. It's just a thing to click on, but it needs to be the exact height of the top of this circle, which the distance, which is what we're going to measure the location of the work plane, the distance from the bottom of everything to the exact top of the circle is the height of the center of the circle plus its radius. And we don't have to do this math. When we go to dimension things, we can literally type 1.375 plus 0.75. And when we do that, we'll see the work plane line up exactly with the top edge of the boiler, I guess. Okay, so we need a plane. We need a type of plane. We need a offset. Oh, wait, no, we can do, normally we would use offset from a plane. And offset from a plane would, hypothetically, choose this, and then we want its location. Don't do this yet. This is one of the options. I guess you could do this. 1.375 plus 0.75, but it's going the wrong direction. So we need to do minus negative 1.375 minus 0.75, and it will be the exact height that we could sketch on. But that negative thing is weird, and it just has to do with where we clicked first. It's fine. The one that we want to use is this one, tangent to a surface parallel to a plane. Okay, tangent means touches at exactly one point. In this case, a plane touches a cylinder at exactly one line. Ignore that. And then parallel. Okay, well, first, tangent to a surface parallel to a plane. The surface we want to be tangent to, which, if you look at the name, tangent to a surface parallel to a plane, you need to click on one round surface and one square surface, or flat. So tangent to a surface parallel to a plane, and then click on the boiler, or the round part, and then click on something that's horizontal, either this ledge or the bottom. Either way, it will give you this work plane that touches this boiler at exactly one point and is horizontal. Does anybody see that one more time? Okay, it'll be in the recording. So now we have work plane 1. That isn't an actual thing. It's just a place to click on because our origin planes are not relevant anymore. Our origin planes are where we started down at the bottom, or I guess the back. Okay, so we have this work plane, and we're going to start a sketch on this work plane. So start a 2D sketch like you would anything else, and you're going to click on this work plane. Near the edge usually works. You can also click on it from the model browser bar. But either way, we're sketching here. And you can see that we are now sketching exactly on top of that. And we need to make a, oops, screwed that one up. We need to make a circle that is exactly in the right place, because that's how things are. And the circle, which is a 0.5 diameter and 0.25 deep, its location, that's its size, its location is 0.875 back from this front edge, which this is a weird dimensioning that it's sort of going three dimensions, or yeah, I guess 3 dimensions. So the center point of the circle needs to be 0.875 back from the front. So we need to be able to measure from the back, from the front. And right now, if we drew a circle and dimension it, we wouldn't be able to, we wouldn't have a firm line to click on. So what we're going to do is project geometry, and we're going to project this face. This front face, if we project it, it will draw the line of it onto our perpendicular plane. And now we can use that to draw on, or in this case, dimension from. Okay, so we got this purple line here. You can usually turn once you've selected things, you can usually turn off the visibility on the work plane, which you'll want to do eventually anyway because you don't want it filling things up. But we've got our line here to dimension from, and we're going to draw our 1/2-inch circle, which is going to be like this. Let's dimension it to 0.5. And now we need 2 dimensions. I guess I should project the side. I didn't soft snap it, which was foolish, but I need a side. Well, I've already got the front dimension or the front projected line, which I am going to be able to dimension the distance from the center point of the circle to the front. And that is going to be 0.875. Well, it's pretty close, but I still need one more dimension, and that dimension is the distance this direction. In order to do that, I need a place to click on to dimension from. And so in order to do that, I'm going to project one of the sides. So if I click on project geometry and click on this face, it will project it up. Before, when we projected geometry on this side, it projected these circles, and that's because that was the direction the sketch plane was going. But now the sketch plane is horizontal. We click on this side and it projects that purple line up. And that will allow us to dimension our, I don't even know what direction, horizontal dimension at this point, or left, right. So dimension tool, center point of the circle, bottom of everything. And that needs to be 1 because it was 2. This total width is 2. We want it centered, which is 1. We are fully constrained down here in the corner. We're going to finish sketch, extrude, choose our circle. Okay. And because our work plane, I think, was upside down, it doesn't, you'll see here in a second. If I click to cut, it switches up into space. If you try to cut into space, it's going to get angry at you because there's nothing you can cut. Okay, what you need to do is switch it to cut, but then switch it back to in. Okay. Switching to cut will switch direction automatically because that's what you want to do almost every time. But in this case, switching to cut made it switch direction that way. We need to switch it back. Okay, this is another time where it's critical when you're doing any sort of part feature to be looking at it from a 3D angle, like a corner or the house. And that way you'll see if it's cutting or creating, and you can see if it's going in or out. We want cut in, and the distance we want to cut is 0.25, depth of 0.25. Okay, and so there's that. And now there's only one other part feature, and there's 3 of them. These tiny holes here, of which there are 3 of them, which you could either count. Can you hand me that? Thank you. I keep one over here. Thank you. Okay, you can tell there are 3 of them. Oh, do you need to go? There you go. Because you could count 1, 2, 3, or you could just see times 3 means they're all that way. Each of these circles is a 0.125 diameter and 0.125 cut. Okay, the cut obviously is the last thing we do, or the final thing we do. But we need 3 circles that are each 0.125 in diameter, and their locations are, well, I'm just going to go ahead and make 3 circles that are 0.125 that roughly look like this and don't snap to anything. And then that way we have that. We don't have to remember every single dimension. Okay, so we'll start a sketch on the front. And we need a circle. And I'm just going to type it in as I go. Before I click, while that text input is still blue, I'm just going to type 0.125, hit enter. I'm going to do one here. That's weird that that edge sort of auto projected. Why is that there? What is that? But either way, we need another one, 0.125, and another one over here, 0.125. Okay, so we have 3 circles that are all correct. I don't know what that thing was. But we need 6 dimensions, and those dimensions are the left to right and up and down for each of them. Okay, so let's see where they are. And, okay, so these bottom ones appear to be the same height off the ground, and their height off the ground is 0.125 off the ground, which doesn't actually overlap because we'll just go with it. They're both 0.125 off the ground. I'm just going to worry about the lower ones first because there's a lot of dimensions going on. They're both 0.125 off the ground, and this center point is 0.375 from the left, and this center point is 1.625 from the left, which if you do this arithmetic is the same amount as 0.375 from this side, which makes sense. If for these to be centered, it needs to be the same amount in, but I'm just going to use the dimensions they have. Okay, 0.125 off the ground for both. This one is 0.375 from the left, and this one is 1.625 from the left. And then we'll do the top circle later. Okay, so dimension, center point to the ground, 0.125. And still dimension tool, center point to the ground, 0.125. Okay, still dimension tool, center point to the left, 0.375. And this one, center point to the left, 1.625. Okay, so we've got our lower holes. Now we need this top center one. And let's zoom in a little bit. Actually, that's bad. This top center one, if we follow this extension line all the way out, it points to this, which is 0.625 off the ground. It's 0.625 off the ground, and its distance left to right, it's on this center line again. So you would only have one extension line for all of these, and it shows you that all the things that go directly through the center, which is, this is one of them. So it's 0.625 off the ground and centered left to right is this top center hole. Dimension, center point to base, 0.625, and center point to the side, 1, and finish sketch, extrude, choose this, choose this, choose this. So 3 things, switch it to cut. And what is our depth? Our depth is 0.125, which it probably already is. No, it's not. It's already 0.25. So not 0.25, 0.125, 0.125, and there you go. I think that's it for a train body. Okay, so file, save. If you're using train as your naming convention, if it ever wakes up, hopefully it doesn't crash. I don't want to redo it. What's up? How big is the what circle? The top center one? They're all 0.125 diameter. Okay, well, my inventor's crashing. Either way, the recording still holds. I'll process it and put it up as fast as I can. Okay.